Unexpectedly discovered how a nurse's heartwarming kiss transformed a billionaire's life forever. In the small town of Maplewood, a love story was about to unfold, one that would shatter the barriers between wealth and hardship, privilege and sacrifice. Claire, a compassionate nurse, balanced her long shifts at Maplewood General Hospital with the weight of supporting her single mother and two younger siblings. At just 28, she poured her heart into every patient care, her dreams tucked away like pastel sketches in a forgotten drawer. Day after day, she felt the strain of poverty tugging at her, but she never lost her smile, the same smile that always lit up the dreary hospital corridors. In stark contrast, Jack, a 35-year-old billionaire with a tech empire, walked the polished marble floors of his mansion, surrounded by wealth but lacking genuine connection. His suit was sharp, his car sleek, but the echo of loneliness haunted him like an uninvited guest. There was a void in his life, a chasm that wealth could not fill. Family gatherings became a parade of judgment, the eyes of his elite family narrowing as they whispered judgments about his choices, especially when it came to his devotion to the business over personal connections. Their worlds collided unexpectedly when Jack was rushed to the hospital one fateful evening, his breath coming in jagged, panicked gasps. Claire was on duty, effortlessly tending to patients while juggling the demands of the floor. The moment she stepped into Jack's room, she felt the air change. She noticed his perfectly tailored suit, but more importantly, she saw the fear behind his icy blue eyes. As she provided care, her soft tone and warm presence cut through his anxiety like a hot knife through butter. "You're safe here," she assured him, her voice a soothing balm. In those small seconds, Claire was more than a nurse, she was a lifeline. Jack was taken aback by the genuine warmth she exuded, breaking through the polished layers of his high-octane life. Days turned into weeks, and their paths crossed more frequently. They shared stolen moments over cafeteria coffee, laughs that echoed amidst the chaos of the hospital, and whispered dreams that lingered like a sweet perfume. Claire opened up about her love for nursing, her dreams of starting a community outreach program. Jack felt the weight of his own ambitions and lingering loneliness, and these conversations filled voids he didn't even know existed. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Yet, just as Jack began to peel back the layers of his privilege to embrace the lessons Claire offered, the shadows of his family's disdain slipped into the light. They deemed Claire unworthy, and Jack found himself torn between what he loved and the judgment he'd long sought to escape. Frustration and heartache turned miscommunication into separation. Claire felt the weight of their distance like a heavy blanket, often retreating into her duties to escape the ache of silence. Jack, however, couldn't let go. He wrestled with the realization that true wealth wasn't measured by numbers but by love and connection. Caught in the unyielding grip of societal expectations, Jack knew the pivotal moment was at hand. As Claire prepared to speak at a community event addressing healthcare inequities, he felt the tug of urgency deep within. Would he stand on the sidelines, or would he take a leap of faith for love? The room buzzed with anticipation as Claire stood before the crowd, her voice steady yet passionate. And in that moment, Jack burst into the hall. His heart pounding. As eyes turned toward him, he couldn't help but feel hope burgeoning within him. Would they finally breach the chasm between their worlds? Would love truly prevail? Jack's breath caught in his throat as he stepped forward, the crowd's murmurs enveloping him like a warm embrace. Claire's gaze was drawn toward him, her eyes widening in surprise. It was a small glance, but it ignited sparks of hope and fear all at once. Would she understand? Would she forgive him for the silence that had grown between them? I couldn't stay away, he stammered, feeling the weight of uncertainty pressing on his chest. Claire's expression was a mix of confusion and something deeper, something unnameable. Her voice faltered as she responded, "Jack, what are you doing here?" "I'm here for you," he declared, his voice rising above the scattered whispers of onlookers. "I realized that I was letting other people dictate my life, my happiness. You showed me what it means to connect, and I can't let that go." The air felt electric, thick with tension and the excitement of possibility. Claire's heart raced as she heard his words. Could this be it? Could he really be standing here for her, fighting against everything that stood between them? Her brow furrowed slightly. "But Jack, your family forget my family," he interjected, passion spilling from his lips. "We've been so caught up in what others think that we've lost sight of what matters. I want to help you with your outreach program. I want to be part of this community, of your life." The crowd had grown quiet, a captivating spell cast as they bore witness to the raw emotion unfolding before them. Claire stepped towards him, her breath hitching in her throat. The warmth of connection pulsed between them, reverberating like a heartbeat. "I've missed you," she admitted, a hint of vulnerability breaking through her normally composed demeanor. "But I've been scared that this world doesn't want in us." Jack's resolve solidified as he closed the distance, the energy pulsing more intensely. "Then let us show them. Let us fight back against their judgments. We can be the change. Together." In that moment, the hearts of those around them swelled. Individuals who had witnessed the struggle of two souls, differing worlds pulling together, felt the stirrings of hope and courage. Someone from the crowd whispered, "Love conquers all," while others nodded in solemn agreement. Claire took a deep breath, stolen glances flickering between fear and excitement. "Do you mean that? I can't bear to lose you again," to slip back into silence. "Never again," he promised, sincerity radiating from him as he reached out, taking her hand in his. With that small gesture, it felt as though the walls they had built around themselves began to crumble, one stone at a time. But just as Claire leaned closer, feeling the warmth of his presence, the unmistakable sound of a scuffle broke the moment. Jack's mother, disheveled and fierce, pushed through the crowd, her authoritative voice booming above the whispers. "Jack! What do you think you're doing? You can't throw your life away on this nurse." Claire's heart sank at the looming shadow of judgment. She felt the weight of societal disapproval, heavy and suffocating, but in Jack's eyes, she saw determination and a glimmer of defiance. At that moment, everything hung in the balance. Would they stand firm against the waves of family expectations, or would they let it pull them apart once more? As the crowd's collective breath hitched, Claire's heart thumped in rapid succession. The true test of their love was just beginning. "Jack, what now?" she whispered, knowing that their journey was far from over. "Jack, what now?" Claire's voice trembled, uncertainty shadowing her words. He felt his heart pounding against his ribcage, the intensity of the moment flooding his senses until the world faded away. All that mattered was Claire and the fight before them. He squeezed her hand tighter, his thoughts racing. He could see the fear in her eyes, the anguish of doubt swirling inside her. "I don't know," he said, trying to steady his voice. "But I'm not backing down." Jack's mother stood firm, her gaze piercing through the crowd. "This is madness, Jack," she shouted, her voice echoing off walls and resonating in the hearts of those gathered around them. "You don't really think this is what you want, do you? This isn't some fairy tale." Her words struck like arrows. He could feel the weight of expectation pressing down, just as Claire's expression shifted from curiosity to deep concern. "You really think I want to live my life for someone else's expectations?" Jack responded, frustration bubbling within him. I've spent too long doing that. Claire is not a mistake, she is the best part of me. The murmurs among the crowd began to rise again, a blend of shock and admiration at his boldness. Claire could feel her heart soaring, warmed by his words yet terrified by the realities that lay between them. Jack, she said, her eyes glistening, this could tear your family apart. And if they can't accept me for who I choose? Jack countered, turning to face his mother. I want to pretend to be someone I'm not just to fit into a mold. I've learned that love shouldn't come with conditions. His mother stepped closer, nostrils flaring as she fought back tears of frustration. Jack, you're throwing your future away. There's so much at stake. You have a name, a legacy, a name that suffocates me. Jack interrupted, anger igniting. What good is a legacy if I'm not happy? If I'm living a life dictated by your dreams? The air crackled with tension, and Claire wanted to embrace him, to affirm their bond, but she felt the chill of his family's influence creep back in, trying to isolate them again. Let us just take a step back, Claire said softly, recoiling slightly, searching for calm in the storm. Maybe we should think about this now. Jack interrupted, desperation filling his voice. We've thought too much. What I want is right in front of me. He looked at Claire, seeing the conflict in her eyes. I want you, Claire. This isn't about the money or the family, this is about us fighting for our love. The crowd shifted, a collective gasp echoing in the space. The weight of their whispers pressed in on them, challenging Jack's declaration. Then Claire's mother stepped forward from the crowd, a voice of reason amid the chaos. Don't let fear decide your love story, Jack. We all have expectations, but it's your heart that matters most. It's your life to live. Jack's breath hitched as he turned his gaze toward Claire's mother. Could they still have a future amid all this noise? He wondered if Claire might truly see the value in risking it all. Will you fight with me? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper, the question laced with urgency and yearning. I don't know, Claire replied, her voice quavering. What if this only makes things worse? Then it will be worse together, he replied, reaching for her other hand, pulling her closer. Better than facing a future without you. Their hearts raced, poised on the brink of love and fear. The world around them blurred as Jack took a deep breath, his next words hanging in the air like a challenge. They could break through the noise together or drown beneath it. The murmur spread through the crowd once again, but Jack immediately saw it wasn't only uncertainty reflected in their faces. There was something more, hope flickered in some eyes. Are you ready to fight? He finally asked. That question hung between them, a crucial crossroads neither of them could ignore. Would Claire be brave enough to answer? And just then, a voice shouted, "What will you two do next?" The crowd shifted, waiting on the edge of their seats for the answer that could change everything. Jack's heart raced. The question lingered in the air like a demand, echoing off the walls and piercing through the buzzing murmurs of the crowd. Around them, people leaned in, eyes wide with anticipation. They could feel it too, the thick air of uncertainty, mingled with electric hope. Claire. Jack searched her eyes, feeling a mix of desperation and yearning. We can face this. If it's together, it means something. She hesitated, biting her lip, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. Jack could see her mind racing. She was balancing everything: the love they shared, the weight of potential loss, and the fear of the unknown. He squeezed her hands tighter, the warmth of their connection pulsing between them, urging her to take the leap. I need to know you're with me, he said, his voice steady now, almost a plea. Otherwise, I'm not sure I can do this. Claire's expression softened slightly as if a part of her wanted to believe. Her brow furrowed as she glanced back at her mother, who nodded encouragingly. It's your choice, Claire. No one else can make it for you, she said softly. Jack watched as Claire's eyes darted between him and the crowd. He hoped she would see the truth in their love, the potential for something beautiful, grand, life-changing. But would she choose the path that seemed so fraught with uncertainty? Claire took a deep breath, her chest rising as if she were about to plunge into an icy lake. I don't want to fight this battle alone, Jack. I'm scared, she admitted, her voice cracking slightly. Jack felt a lump in his throat. You won, TB. It's never just you. I'm right here. The crowd fell silent, the tension palpable. What felt like an eternity passed before Claire finally spoke again. Okay. I'll fight with you. Warmth surged through Jack, relief, hope, love. He pulled her into a tight embrace. The crowd erupted in cheers, and for a moment, the weight of the world lifted. It felt like stepping out from the shadows into bright sunlight, and the warmth enveloped them. But then, reality tilted again when Jack's mother snapped, "You think this is over? You think they'll accept you just because you made some big speech? This isn't just about the two of you." Her voice cracked with disappointment, and Jack's heart sank. "This is my choice, Mom. You raised me to believe in following my heart," he pushed back, feeling fiercely protective not just of Claire, but their union. "You don't understand the sacrifices, Jack. Family means something," she shouted back, emotions spilling over. Claire stood beside him, her resolve swelling. Family should love unconditionally. If they don't, what does it mean? The murmurs came back, voices rising, opinions clashing. The crowd had turned into a battleground of perspectives. Jack could feel the tension tightening, the stakes rising. "Jack." Claire squeezed his hand tighter. "What if we can survive this?" He looked deep into her eyes, the fire of determination rekindled within him. "Then we fight harder. Together." Just then, amid the chaos, a figure emerged from the side, a familiar face cloaked in a heavy expression. It was Peter, Jack's older brother, his face a mix of confidence and concern. "Jack, Claire," he said, his voice ringing clear over the crowd. "We need to talk. Now." Everything shifted. Jack's heart raced. This was at the pivotal moment that could either reinforce their strength or push them further apart. "What does he want?" Claire whispered, glancing at Jack, her face pale. "I don't know," Jack said, feeling the gravity of the moment. "But I'm ready for whatever comes next." "Are you?" Their eyes locked, both realizing the depth of their commitment as they prepared to face this challenge head-on. But as Peter stepped forward, Jack's heart drummed with a fear he couldn't shake. Was this talk the key to their freedom or the beginning of their unraveling? Peter's eyes darted across the crowd, a hint of worry etched on his face. The hushed whispers floated back and forth like errant leaves, the air crackling with uncertainty. Jack turned to Claire, her brows knitted in concern. "Let us hear him out," he said, so resolved but also unsure. They faced each other in that moment, the world around them blurring into insignificance. Peter motioned for them to step aside. Jack's heart thudded in his chest, the weight of the assembly pressing down on him. As they moved away from the throng, he felt Claire's anxiety radiating. "Jack, Claire started, her voice trembling. "Just trust him," Jack whispered, but doubt lingered at the edge of his mind. When they found a suitable spot by the old oak tree, Peter looked at them both seriously. "I've seen the way people are reacting. I think I might have a solution for you." Claire's eyes widened. "A solution? What do you mean?" Peter leaned closer, lowering his voice. "If you're going to face this together, you need allies. There's a rally next week. You show up together, people like us, people who care. The visibility might change hearts." Jack's heart sank for a moment. And what if it doesn't work, Peter? What if they still reject us? Then we fight another way, Peter replied, steely determination glimmering in his voice. But you have to show that unity, that you're willing to stand together openly. It'll make them see. Claire's grip on Jack tightened. I want that. I want to fight. Together out there. He looked at her, pride swelling in his chest. Then we do this. They shared an electric moment, a spark coursing through them as if they stepped onto a battlefield side by side. But, Peter added, you need to prepare for backlash. This isn't going to be easy. Some will try to tear you apart. Jack shivered at Peter's words. We're prepared for that. Right, Claire? She nodded without hesitance. I want to back down. Not now. Then, unexpectedly, Peter approached a step closer. Just remember, you're not alone. I'm on your side, whatever the cost. The tension in Jack's shoulders eased for a brief moment. He felt a rush of gratitude towards his brother. Yet beneath that, a deeper worry loomed. Could they really cultivate change? But before they could discuss more, a loud shout cut through the air, bringing them back to reality. Someone in the crowd was getting agitated, and the murmurs quickly transformed into an uproar. Do you hear that? Claire asked, a hint of fear in her eyes. Yes, Jack said, scanning the gathering. What is happening? Someone is challenging your relationship, Peter said, a frown settling deep on his brow. Jack felt a surge of anxiety wash over him. We have to go back. We can't let this spiraling out of control. Suddenly, a figure burst through the crowd, an old foe Jack hadn't expected to see again. His heart raced. This confrontation would test their resolve more than ever. Claire's grip tightened on his hand as their eyes locked. Whatever happens, Jack. Remember what we said? He nodded, fear replaced momentarily by a fierce determination. Together. Always. As they approached the center of the commotion, Jack could almost hear his heartbeat in his ears. Then the voice of the crowd sharpened, and Jack prepared for whatever would come next with a sense of dread and an unwavering love that led the way forward. Would they find the strength to overcome, or would this moment tear them apart forever? The crowd thickened like a storm cloud, each face reflecting a mix of curiosity and judgment. As Jack and Claire moved closer, their resolve hardened. Jack could see the familiar sneer of Brian, a name that stirred a pot of resentment within him. Brian had never been an ally, he thrived on chaos and conflict. Look who it is, the lovebirds, Brian shouted, laughter laced with contempt. The noise intensified, drawing the attention of those who had only been spectators moments before. Tension crackled in the air. Claire's hand squeezed Jack's tighter, and he shot her a quick look. Remember, he whispered, we're in this together. We have a right to be here, Claire called out, her voice clear, cutting through the murmurs swirling around them. Jack felt pride swell inside him. She was brave, perhaps even more than he was. Brian stepped forward, the crowd parting around him like an ocean. You think you can just walk in here and flaunt your whatever this is? You're embarrassing yourselves. Jack's heart pounded, but something within him ignited. We're not here to flaunt anything. We're here to show that love shouldn't be hidden. Gasps rippled through the crowd. It was a bold move, speaking up like that. Brian's smirk faltered, replaced by a shadow of surprise. You think just saying a few words can change anyone's mind? Brian laughed, but the sound was hollow. He could feel the crowd's energy shifting, and for the first time, uncertainty crept into his stance. Maybe not, Jack replied, each word infused with strength. But I believe showing we're not ashamed of who we are can. Claire lifted her chin, the force of her conviction propelling Jack forward. As others listened in, their faces painted with curiosity, Jack felt the weight of their hopes resting on his shoulders. "Do you really believe that?" a voice piped up from the back. It was someone he recognized but couldn't place. The murmurs had softened, becoming curious rather than hostile. "Yes, I do," Claire answered, her voice firm. "We've fought too hard to let anyone intimidate us into silence." People began to nod. Jack caught glimpses of uncertainty fading from some faces. This wasn't just about them anymore, it was a moment of reckoning for many. Brian's expression twisted into anger. "You want a rally? You'll only rally people against you." Jack took a breath, steadying himself. He could feel the pulse of the crowd, shifting like the tides. "No, Brian. You don't see it yet, but people are ready for change. No more hiding. This is who we are. Together." Every eye was on them. A few folks in the crowd started to chant softly, "Together, together." In that moment, Jack locked eyes with Claire. They were standing on the brink of something monumental. But then Brian lunged forward, arms flailing, ready to regain control. "Shut up and get out," he yelled, but the crowd wasn't with him anymore. Jack felt a surge of energy coursing through him. This could be their moment of change, but as Brian charged, he knew they would need to brace themselves for more than just words. "Get ready," he whispered to Claire, "this could go sideways fast." And just as the crowd surged, a sudden realization hit Jack. Maybe, just maybe, this was their chance to turn the tide. But would they be strong enough to stand their ground when faced with the oncoming storm, or would they crumble beneath the pressure? Claire's heart raced as Brian barreled toward them, his fury palpable. The air thickened with anxiety, but Jack stood firm, his eyes locked on the unpredictable chaos headed their way. "Stay close," he urged, but Claire didn't waver. As Brian approached, the crowd's energy morphed once more. The hushed whispers of "together" once so strong now felt fragile. But in that vulnerability was an opportunity, one Jack didn't intend to squander. "Back off, Brian," Jack blurted out, his voice cutting through the tension. He could see the flicker of doubt in Brian's eyes as the crowd began to shift, a wave of solidarity rising against him. And then it happened. Brian stumbled, caught off guard by Jack's defiance, and in that moment, the crowd reacted. A collective intake of breath echoed, followed by a ripple of voices murmuring encouragement. "Stand your ground," someone shouted from the middle of the crowd, emboldening others to rally around Jack and Claire. Suddenly, Brian wasn't just facing Jack and Claire, he was standing against the gathering force. Jack felt the energy shift positively now, almost electric, charging through the throng of people. "You think they care about your little show?" Brian spat, desperation coating his words. But Jack glanced around and saw faces familiar ones, even strangers beginning to nod and murmur in agreement. Hope swelled in his chest. "Love is powerful," Claire said, stepping forward without a hint of fear. Her voice rang out, steady and confident. "More powerful than your hate. We'll not let you or anyone else push us back into the shadows." Jack couldn't help but admire her strength. It was infectious. He took her hand firmly, their fingers intertwining as a gesture of unity, a visible sign of their commitment to each other and to everyone who felt marginalized. Another voice, softer this time, emerged from the back. "I felt that way, too." A girl stepped forward, eyes shining with recognition. The murmurs grew as others began sharing their own stories, slowly building momentum. "Together we are strong," Jack called, sensing that the tide was indeed turning. "We are here for each other." The crowd erupted with more chants. "Together. Together." Brian, realizing he was losing authority, stumbled back, eyes wide. The anger and hatred that radiated from him paled in contrast to the warmth spreading through the crowd, fueled by stories of love and resilience. Suddenly, Claire felt a wave wash over her. She turned to Jack, their eyes meeting again. "This is it," she breathed, the wonder at what they had unleashed dawning on both of them. At that moment, they weren't simply fighting against Brian, they were fighting for a chance to be who they were, a chance for everyone to embrace their truth. But just as the crowd surged forward, emboldened by newfound hope, Jack's heart sank with the thought. What if this confrontation wasn't even the storm they faced? What if Brian had something else hidden up his sleeve? Something that could turn their triumph into devastation. "Jack," Claire whispered, noting the change in his expression. "What is wrong?" The weight of uncertainty hung heavy in the air, and as the crowd began to chant louder, the tension shifted again. Brian, cornered but not defeated, revealed a twisted smile, something darker lurking in his eyes. "Think this is over?" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chants. "You've only ignited a war." Jack felt the chill of fear seep into his bones. They were only at the beginning of this fight. What lay ahead would demand more than just their courage and conviction. Would they be ready for whatever came next? Or would this moment of hope crumble before they could solidify their victory? The chants of the crowd became a distant echo in Jack's mind, overshadowed by the looming threat in Brian's words. The vibrant energy that had surged moments ago now twisted into a heavy cloud of uncertainty. He could feel Claire's grip tighten around his hand, her warmth a faint reminder of the hope they were fighting for. "Jack." Claire's voice cut through his thoughts. "Look at them." She gestured widely at the crowd, many faces illuminated by the late afternoon sun, holding resolute expressions filled with courage. It was a mosaic of strength, a tapestry woven from shared experiences. Their unity, their fight, it mattered. It could change everything. But could it protect them against Brian's fury? Jack's heart pounded in his chest. He couldn't shake the feeling that Brian was just getting started. "We need to be ready," he whispered, pulling Claire closer. "This isn't just about today." As if on cue, Brian raised a trembling hand, gesturing toward the outskirts of the crowd. Jack followed his gaze, and a chill sliced through him. He spotted a few figures lingering near the entrance, strange allies of Brian, lurking silently like shadows. They were clearly waiting for his signal. "Claire," Jack began, but the crowd's volume peaked, drowning out all words. They were consuming the air around them, rising like a swell. "We need to split them up. We can't let them organize." Just then, a voice proclaimed from the front, a young man with wild hair and fear in his eyes. "We are not backing down. We are not scared." With renewed vigor, the crowd echoed him, "Not scared. Not scared." But as Jack felt their words buoy him, he sensed Brian shifting again. "Oh, you think you're brave?" He laughed bitterly, swirling the crowd's energy into a violent storm of contempt. "I've got friends here who love a good brawl." Before Jack could react, Brian shouted a command. The figures at the entrance pulled their hoods back, revealing masks, sinister expressions twisting their lips. They charged toward the crowd, a tidal wave of hostility crashing upon them. "Staying together means nothing if we're not prepared," Jack yelled, even as adrenaline surged through him. "Form a line. Stand together." People were reacting, some stepping forward while others faltered in fear. Jack scanned the crowd, searching for familiar faces. There was that girl from earlier who had shared her story, and next to her stood the older man who was always at the local rallies. "Now!" Jack roared, gripping Claire's hand tighter, feeling her tremble in determination. They formed a protective barrier, but Jack could feel the suffocating pressure of dread. The fight had begun. Bodies collided and voices erupted, the scene unraveling before him like a chaotic whirlwind, fear and hate clashing against hope and unity. Claire turned to him, her expression fierce. "We're not backing down, right?" "No way." Jack locked eyes with her, convinced by the resolve he found there. They stood together, unfurling every ounce of courage within themselves against the encroaching violence. But as fists flew and the air thickened with tension, Jack knew this wasn't just about today's protest, it was the beginning of a much larger battle. A battle for freedom, for identity, for their lives. Jack's heart raced, an urgent whisper in his mind. What if this was only the beginning of something volatile? Would they survive the war Brian had declared? He steadied his resolve, the brewing chaos around him becoming a heavy heartbeat in the pit of his stomach. As fists connected and voices escalated, Jack searched for a way to bring order from this escalating storm. "We need to find a way to end this," Jack shouted, trying to rally the crowd's spirits. But it was clear this moment would define them, setting them on a path toward confrontation. What awaited them on the other side? Would they emerge victorious, or would this dark tide swallow everything they believed in? Jack's pulse quickened as the tide of masked figures surged toward them. Like a wave crashing on a fragile shore, chaos erupted, bodies pushing and shoving, the air thick with shouts and the sound of fists on flesh. Every sharp cry felt like a knife to his gut, stoking the fire of fierce determination swelling in his chest. "Look out!" Claire shouted as a figure barreled toward them. Jack instinctively stepped in front of her, the weight of his own body a meager barrier against the chaos unleashed. He couldn't let Brian's faction see fear, he wouldn't allow it. With every ounce of his being, he hoped the crowd felt his resolve. "Everyone, hold your ground," he yelled, channeling his inner strength into the makeshift barricade they formed. People rallied, their initial hesitation replaced with gritty determination. The wild-haired young man from earlier stood beside him, fists raised, joining Jack in this hallowed battle of wills. In the thrumming heart of the chaos, Jack grabbed the man's arm. "We need a distraction. Something to give us time to regroup. Over there." The young man pointed toward a nearby stage, hastily erected for speeches earlier that day. "If we can draw them to the side, let us do it," Jack called out, shaking off the fear clinging to him like a shroud. He turned to the group, urgency blazing in his eyes. "Follow me. We are moving to that side." They pushed ahead, weaving through the writhing mass of hostility and defiance. Jack half dragged, half led Claire with him, her hand still tightly grasping his. He could see the determination mirrored in her eyes, it gave him strength. As they reached the edge of the makeshift stage, Jack noticed a stack of microphones left behind. A spark ignited in his mind. "Claire, help me with these." He began gathering the equipment, his adrenaline fueling his every motion. "What is the plan?" she asked breathlessly. "If we can amplify our voices, we can drown out their anger." "We have to remind everyone why we're here," he replied, quickening his pace. Behind them, the fight intensified. Grunts and shouts mingled into a cacophony, a stark contrast to the unified chants their side had once sung. Jack placed a microphone to his mouth, his heart pounding louder than the battle. "Everyone, listen," he shouted, his voice crackling through the speaker. Several people turned, confusion breaking through their ferocity. Claire to his side, fierce and unwavering, he encouraged them further. "This isn't just about today, it's about our future. They want to divide us, but we are unstoppable together." The chant started to ripple through the crowd again, tentatively at first. "Together. Together." Growing into a crescendo as voices joined in. "Feel that?" Jack said to Claire, the thrill of hope lifting the weight from his chest. "They're responding. We can push back." But just as he thought they had gained an advantage, Brian's growl cut through the air, dark as thunder. "You think you can shout over me? Time to show you what real chaos looks like. Panic pierced the crowd as Brian hurled a flare into the air, bursting in bright colors but only adding to the dread. Jack's gut churned. A spark in the form of rebellion had ignited into something dangerous. "Claire!" he shouted, trying to get her attention over the escalating madness. "Get the people together. We have to hold our ground, but we can't let them divide us." As Claire nodded, her focus unwavering, Jack scanned the crowd once more. This was more than a moment, it was an early battle in a war of ideals. How could they hope to rally together in the face of this madness? And just like that, amid the rising flames of confrontation, a thought pierced through Jack's racing mind. What would their actions mean tomorrow? Could this skewed reality even be transformed into something powerful, something beautiful in the aftermath? Their future danced precariously in the balance, and Jack felt the weight of every decision as he prepared to forge ahead, unsure of what lay on the other side of this moment. Would they find solace in triumph or fall into a deeper abyss of chaos? The answer loomed just out of reach. Jack's heart thundered in his chest as he locked eyes with Claire, determination etched in their expressions. The world around them had erupted, chaos spilled over, raw emotions, but in that turmoil, Jack felt something shift within. He took a deep breath, grounding himself in the moment, remembering the warmth of Claire's presence and the strength in unity. "Together," he whispered fiercely, and Claire nodded, her expression one of unwavering resolve. "Together," she echoed. Brian's men advanced like a storm, but instead of shrinking backward, Jack felt a fire light inside him. He raised the microphone high above his head, channeling the energy of everyone around him. "We have a choice," he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise like a beacon. "Fear doesn't own us. We are not just fighting for love, we're fighting for everyone who feels unseen." The crowd hesitated, confusion palpable, then began to murmur, voices rising together. "Not scared. Not scared. Now is the time." Jack continued, barely able to contain the energy surging through him. "We've seized this moment. Let us take back our power." The atmosphere crackled, and the crowd responded with a collective roar, a surge of togetherness pushing against the tide of fear. He could see faces lit with diverse emotions, a mixture of hope, courage, and camaraderie that held the potential to break the barriers that had kept them apart for too long. Brian, clearly losing his grip, stepped back. "You really think they care about your speeches? You are just a bunch of naive dreamers." He spat, but Jack detected the thread of uncertainty in Brian's bravado. "Dreamers maybe," Jack shot back, "but we're dreamers who are ready to fight. Together." And just like that, an electric current flowed between Jack and the crowd. He could feel the hearts of many beating with a rhythm of defiance, the energy pulsed through their shared intentions like a lifeline. "Are you with us?" Claire shouted, her voice rising like a battle cry. With those words, something remarkable happened. The pulse of solidarity radiating throughout the crowd came together into a unified roar, "We stand together." Brian faltered, his bravado cracking like glass. For a moment, it looked as though the tide was turning. Uncertainty crept back into the eyes of the once assertive faction as the gathered community grew louder. Jack could see people stepping forward, faces shifting from fear to strength, desire to belong. "Let us take this energy and show them what we are made of," Jack exclaimed, feeling his heart swell with pride. The chants became a rallying anthem, echoing through the air and bouncing off the walls surrounding them. Step by step, they took control of the narrative, fists raised, a community emerged from the chaos. At that precise moment, Jack saw Claire glance at him, a flicker of hope dancing in her eyes. Her conviction fueled him. "We won't let fear control our stories," he declared, clutching her hand as if it were his anchor. "Our warmth, our love, it's something they can't extinguish." Brian's anger boiled over, his desperation morphed into fury. You think your voices matter. This isn't over. But Jack didn't respond, he turned instead toward the glowing presence of others. What had once been a chaotic scene morphed into a powerful tapestry, uprooting the seeds of division. He could sense it. This was more than just their fight, this was a movement, a reflection of community values transcending their individual struggles. Claire's voice rang like a bell of resolve. Together, we'll rewrite our story. Together, we'll change our lives. Hope surged through her words, rallying the crowd against the tides of discontent. The harmony of collective heartbeats ushered forth something transformational. He could see it. Every exchange, every courageous shout, was stitching their very humanity together in a way that emerged more vibrant than before. As fists pummeled toward challenges rather than each other, the atmosphere lightened slightly. Jack could not ignore the soft hum of encouragement resonating. They had drawn a line in the sand. "I'll stand with you, Claire," he said firmly, feeling the weight of the world start to lift from his shoulders. He had found his purpose, his home, amidst the storms of chaos. "Me too, Jack." She smiled brightly through tears, those radiant dreams unfurling like flowers awakening in spring. All around them, the crowd echoed their commitment. One last breath filled Jack's lungs. "Let us take this fight to their doorstep. Tomorrow, we'll organize, we'll grow our momentum, and we'll stand united for everyone who believes in love." The energy erupted into a roar of approval, and as Jack turned toward Brian, he felt a thrill of victory. "Your hatred will never win," Jack declared, voicing a promise not just to Brian, but to everyone who had ever felt suppressed. With a swift motion, Jack and Claire pulled away from the chaos, feeling the hands of their allies around them. Muffled cries faded behind them as they stepped back, the flames of support shifting the landscape entirely. Victory was theirs, and so was love. This battle was just the beginning, a chance for true change, a community emboldened to embrace who they were, united beyond any boundary. Together. Claire shouted over the wildest wave of applause, and they took the next step forward into the bright horizon beyond, knowing they could face any storm that lay ahead. As they emerged from the sporadic noise, a sense of warmth enveloped them both. They had conquered fear, transformed that which once held them apart, and taken control of their narrative. Tomorrow came with hope, a chance to redefine what love meant when fighting for each other and for all. The world ahead shimmered with endless possibilities, and Jack knew in his heart that whatever came next, they would embrace it together. Now, for you, dear viewer, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it makes a massive difference. I want to hear from you. Comment below about your reactions and feelings from this gripping journey. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.